Hello and welcome to Inside tutorial. In this tutorial, I will show you how to do the interpretation of the data for geophysical well in basement and clastic section. Please note that this video tutorial is a long session. Have a cup of coffee, relax and enjoy the show. Let's begin. As you can see on the screen, the stratigraphy of the well that is presented have two sections. One is clastic from 3100 to 3880. The basement, which starts from the depth at 3830 to the end of the well at around 4260. Okay, now I will create new interpretation model and I name it as basement inter. I choose the model as fracture basement. You can also choose different models like clastic. Okay, now you have the interpretation model basement inter. Right click, run workflow. The workflow on the right side is a recommended workflow for this basement. Our Vietnamese expert make this as an optimal workflow for basement. You can follow step by step to interpret this section. If you have your own workflow, you can add it here. The first step is to define the interpretation interval. We make it from 3880 to 4260. In the default save data, we make a new data set. We name it as basement result. Okay. Please note that with our software, you can do many interpretations with the different or same folder that store the result. For example, I could make an interpretation model and do the interpretation for this section, like this basement inter over here. Okay, next step is zone manager. We have different types of zone set: mineral, fluid, curve. You can also browse to add zone in the log plot. However, in this case, I will do this manually. The next step is input curves. In this section, I have 4 curves that I have to add for the input parameters. Those are RHOB, NV, DT, and gamma ray. In addition, you can also add the curve you want to interpret. As you can see, this is the curve type, or in other words, it is curve family. You can change the curve name. For example, if I have 2 and 3 curves, I could add the other one. The weight over here is the reliability of the curve. When you input the weight of the curve, as the curve has high reliability, you put it as 1. With low reliability, you can decrease the number. However, this would affect the quality of interpretation, therefore you should not decrease it to 0.7. After you're done with the input curve, click OK. The next step is input fluid. Okay, in this form, you can see on the right, we have the default parameters. If you have a fluid property report, you can input it here. If you don't have the fluid property report, you can use the default parameters. This is the result of analyzing hundreds of fluid properties in Coulomb Basin in Vietnam. Okay. The last step in parameter setting is input mineral model. In this section, you have to base on the petrography report to know the mineral in this section. For example, in this section, I have this petrography report, and it says to me there are 5 types of minerals: plagio-clast, caliphate, quartz, pyrrhotite, and another. So back in the software, I will have to add these minerals. If you make a mistake, you can use the arrow to redo. The table also supports auto search. You can just type the first letter of the mineral. It will go through all the minerals that have the same first letter. Okay, now I will add all the minerals. Okay. As you can see on the screen, the parameters of each mineral are taken from theory. Specifically, that is catalog mineral parameters. If you don't have the petrography report, you can use the report of nearby well or in the same geological area. Click OK after you're done. The next step is interpretation. Before you go into view mineral parameters, you have to know the general rock type in this area based on log response. I will make a new zonation chart. Right click on the zone over here, add zonation chart. Choose the parameter set as user defined. The zone set, I will make a new one and rename it as Thai rock zone. Okay. We identify 2 types of the rock in this area. One is below 100 of the gamma ray. The other one is above 200 of the gamma ray. I will do it now. Okay, I create a new zone section. One is low gamma ray, and one is high gamma ray. I will check these two rock types by cross plot. Right click on cross plot, new cross plot, and sonic density. I rename this as basement sonic density. Okay. As you can see on the screen, this is the whole well, this is the section basement, this is the section plastic. I will change the view to concentrate on the basement, in particular the zone that I interest. You can choose whichever zone you want to active. You can see based on the overlay line, the low gamma ray is rhanodiorite and the high gamma ray is granite. I will talk a bit about overlay line. You can change the overlay line. For example, I use fracture reservoir sonic density overlay line. This is built based on the analyzing of the granitoid rock. You can choose other overlay lines such as this one. Okay, now I change back to fracture reservoir sonic density. The next step is build mineral parameters for the granodiorite based on the log response. Remember, this is purely mathematical instrument to store the mineral parameters that are suitable for the log response in well section. I choose a set of parameters that I already have for granodiorite. I will explain a bit about these build mineral parameters. Over here, we have 5 types of mineral. We have to input a volume based on the petrography data of granodiorite. The curve value is the average value for its input curve. You can use histogram to check this value. For example, I choose DD histogram. Okay, now I concentrate on the zone that I interest. Okay. You can use a bridge here to input into view mirror parameters. The right side is the input from catalog mirror parameters. After that, we run to get the synthetic curve and export to the zone that we interest. Close. The next step is multi-mineral solver. You can just hit run and it will run the calculation. Okay. You can check the synthetic curve and the input curve by using lithology and synthetic curve in the result plot view. Okay. We have the synthetic curve in the red curve and input curve is the blue curve. We can see that the area whereby the gamma ray is high, the synthetic curve and the input curve do not match. We will set up the zone for this area like this. I will name this as high gamma ray 1. Okay. Now we need to go back to view mirror parameters tab. Okay. This is high gamma ray 2. Okay. Now I will need to go back to view mirror parameters tab. Now I will do it for the high gamma ray drop, which is granite. I will import the granite parameters. Export to the zone I interest after I press run. And run multi-mirror solver again. Okay, close. Okay, now you can see the synthetic curve and the input curve is closer together. Now we need to do it for this zone. You don't have to go to the view mirror parameters again. You can just go to input mirror model, select the zone that you already did, copy and paste. Okay. Now you need to run multi-mirror solver again. Okay. You can do the same for the rest of the basement. We have already done this for this well, and I will load the zone that I have for this well. Okay, now I need to go to input mirror model and import the zone that I already made. Now I have to delete the old zone to avoid overlapping. Okay. Okay. Now I have all necessary requirements. I will just need to run the multi-mirror solver again. Okay, now it is better. You can open the QC synthetic curve form to check. It is in the QC and result. Press run. If the correlation is above 0.8, then it is good. Next step, I have to set up the block value. I have to set the zonation for the phi total log like this. I could set up a zone for the basement and split it up like this. Okay, now I have to go to block value form. I choose the zone set as the zone that I made. Now I have to set up three blocks, DT block and DT map for all the zones based on our experience of the well. I set the DT map approximately to 58 and the DT block I set it near 52. The phi total I set it near 0.03. I will do it for the rest. Okay, now I have to save all the curves that I have modified. Okay. Next step, we need to calculate secondary porosity, fracture porosity, filtering factor type, micro and macro porosity, water saturation, permeability. The software will auto-detect all the input curves, so for all forms, you can just run the calculation and save for future automatically calculation. Now you open the result of interpretation. I have to change this to line. Okay, now I have a result of the FMI. I can load it here to compare with interpretation. New log draft, add image. For this FMI is from 3430 to 4300. I set the left 0 and the width as 100 to fill the image properly. Okay, now as you can see over here, the water saturation is a match with what's showing in the FMI. Now I have to add the block value zone that I modified last time. Add new zonation chart, parameter set, user define, block zone set. Okay. Okay. Now I want to modify something in this zone over here. I go back to block value form. See the zone at 4047 and I change a bit in the DT map. Save. Close. Okay. After finishing with block values, you have to recalculate all the remaining tasks like secondary porosity, fracture porosity, etc. However, you don't need to do this again. The automated function is useful for this case. You can just click check at the beginning of the step and here at the bottom is the automatic calculation. The software will automatically calculate all the necessary calculations. Okay, done, close. The last step is cutoff and summation. You can choose the zone that you wish for the summation. For example, I choose the block zone set that I have made and press run. Okay, the software can export to PDF, Excel file, etc. For example, I export the result to Excel. I do it like this. Now it is the end of the tutorial. I hope you got useful information. Thanks for watching.